Is it okay? Is everything here? Yes, he said, scanning quickly. It seems to be fine. He was opening the drawers of his desk, one after another. Nothing appeared to be missing. What a relief, Beverly said. He turned and looked at the far side of the room. The map. Malcolm had a large map of the world with pins stuck in it for all the sightings of what Levine kept calling aberrant forms. By the most liberal count, Levine's count, there had now been 12 in all, from Rangora in the west to Baja California, Ecuador in the east. Few of them were verified, but now there was a tissue sample that confirmed one specimen, and that made all the other sightings more likely. Did they photograph this map? Yes, they photographed everything. It doesn't matter? Malcolm looked at the map, trying to see it with fresh eyes, and see what an outsider would make of it. He and Levine had spent hours in front of this map considering the possibility of a lost world, trying to decide where it might be. They had it narrowed down to 5 islands in a chain off the coast of Costa Rica. Levine was convinced that it was one of those islands, and Malcolm was beginning to think he was right. But those islands weren't highlighted on the map. Beverly stepped up. They were a very nice group, very polite, foreign. I think they were Swiss. I know what he thought. It's bound to get out sooner or later. It's okay, Beverly. Are you sure, Dr. Malcolm? Yes, it's fine. Have a good evening. Good night, Dr. Malcolm, she said. Now alone in his office, he dialed Levine. The phone rang, and then the answering machine beeped. Levine was still not home. Richard, are you there? If you are, pick up. It's important. He waited, but nothing happened. Richard had seen it. Listen, we have a problem. The map is no longer secure, and I've had that sample analyzed, Richard. I think it tells us where the location of Site B is. It might... There was a click as the phone lifted. He heard the sound of breathing. Richard, he said. No, replied a voice. This is Thorne, and I think you better get over here right away. The realization that someone could have deduced Site B's whereabouts before Malcolm had talked to Richard about the tissue samples is something that I think deserves to be talked about for those of us that have read the novels. The idea of rogue people sneakily lying their way into the office of one of the InGen Incidence's survivors is really cool. And the mental imagery I have of people flashing their cameras at a giant map with markings depicting all of the known locations of dinosaur sightings is a fun image that I'd love to see on the big screen. It's almost got a bit of a cryptozoology feel to it, in my opinion. Instead of possible places people have seen Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, this map shows where real, living dinosaurs have been reported by people all around the world. And it isn't just Costa Rica either. With the knowledge that the government is having a hard time locating every individual animal and is also trying to stop the public from finding out about the dinosaur's existence, you've got yourself a recipe for one excellent trip to the mysterious Isla Sorna, where we all know something has indeed survived. Hell, even the idea that a rival corporation, Biosyn, has been attempting to profit off of John Hammond's work, all that stuff, it's just a really cool set of ideas in the second novel for me. The way the public finds out about dinosaurs existing in the modern day is far different to what happened at the end of the Lost World Jurassic Park movie. And the realization that animals are all over the place was different in the Fallen Kingdom as well. Nevertheless, it did all start right here in Crichton's incredible books, and I just can't wait to see what other stuff they mine for Jurassic World 3 when it comes out in 2021. Now, before I go, I want to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my partners and InGen hunters as well. Words can't really express how awesome it is to have you guys tell me how much you enjoy the stuff I do, and I seriously am extremely thankful for everything that you guys do to help. Honestly, it means the world. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and hope that you all enjoy today's content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you on the next video, guys, and as always,
Nope, not today.
Pete?
yep,
Music?
yep,
Close the oven?
yep,
Start a tap?
Oh, yeah.
You been doing some drinking, sir?
Yep. Having a good one? Yep.
It's a character that in the films was all but forgotten after the second movie. In the books, he had much more detail, and Rowling even released more information on him after the series ended. In this video, we're going to gather all of that information as I explain the life of Gilderoy Lockhart from the books. Gilderoy Lockhart was born into a family split magic-wise. He took after his mother, who was a witch, but his father and two older sisters were muggles. Because of this, he was his mother's favorite child, and she did not try to hide this. From a young age, it was clear that Lockhart was a very good-looking boy. He had wavy blonde hair, blue eyes, and a smile that showed his perfectly white teeth. Between his good looks and constant praise from his mother, he had a lot of pride and admiration for himself. He was a clever boy, but all that praise went to his head, making him believe that he was better than he actually was. When Lockhart turned 11, he got his Hogwarts letter and was sent off to the Wizarding School the following fall. His arrival at Hogwarts was not the triumph that he and his mother had expected, however. Having been the only sibling with magical abilities and being constantly praised by his mother, he thought he was the best of the best. Because of this, he was in for a bit of a shock when he got to Hogwarts, as he was now in a school full of wizards and witches, many of whom were more accomplished than him. He was no longer the outlier, but rather, he was seen as normal, and to some, even below average. Lockhart was sorted into Ravenclaw, and was very underwhelmed by his first week at Hogwarts. He had pictured his entrance to Hogwarts to be much more like that of Harry Potter years later. He had imagined walking down the corridors to excited whispers of his magical prowess. It never occurred to him that every student at Hogwarts had had similar experiences to him before starting school. In Lockhart's mind, he was already a fully fledged hero and genius, and it was a most unwelcome shock to discover that his name was unknown. His talents were unexceptional, and that nobody was really impressed by his naturally wavy hair. He was never very popular and didn't have many friends during his time at Hogwarts. He was very ambitious, perhaps too ambitious. He shared with his classmates, or anyone else that would listen, that he would succeed in making a Philosopher's Stone before leaving school, that he intended to captain England's Quidditch team to World Cup glory, and said that after that, he would become Britain's youngest Minister for Magic. Lockhart was naive and seemed to be pretty average. This, however, is not to say that he had no talent. A few of his teachers actually thought he was above average when it came to his intelligence and ability. They told him that with hard work, he might actually make something of himself. Lockhart was achieving good marks with his schoolwork, but there was always something part of his nature that made him increasingly unsatisfied. If he was not the first and the best, he would rather not participate at all. Throughout his years at Hogwarts, he began to direct his talents towards shortcuts and dodges, rather than putting in the actual work. He valued learning not for its own sake, but for the attention that it brought him. He craved prizes and awards. He convinced the headmaster at the time to start a school newsletter, because he liked nothing more than seeing his name and photograph in print. While Lockhart was never very popular, he still achieved his primary goal, which was to get school-wide recognition. He did this, however, through repeated attention-getting exploits. A few examples include him carving his signature into 20-foot-long letters on the Quidditch pitch, which got him detention for a week. He managed to create a massive illuminated projection of his own face, which he would send skywards in imitation of the Dark Mark. He sent himself 800 Valentine's cards one year, which caused such a pileup of owls in the Great Hall that breakfast had to be abandoned. Nevertheless, he finished his 7 years at Hogwarts and moved on to his career in the wizarding world. Lockhart leaving was a sigh of relief for most of the staff. He began to travel the world, and stories of his bravery and resilience began to become publicized. Articles were saying he overcame dangerous places and fought dark creatures. Many of his ex-teachers began to question if they had misjudged Lockhart. His ex-teachers' first instincts were correct, however. He was a gifted wizard, but he was nothing like what the press was saying. The truth was that Lockhart had found his true calling at last. He had never been a bad wizard, only a lazy one. He decided to use his talents to go in one direction, memory charms. By perfecting this tricky spell, he had succeeded in modifying the memories of a dozen highly accomplished and courageous witches and wizards, allowing him to take credit for their daring exploits. He would have them tell him each detail of how they did these great deeds, and then he would simply wave his wand and make their memory vanish. He would return to Britain at the end of each adventure, and would write a book about his feats and bravery. He of course added a wealth of invented detail and lies to make it more exciting and to fill in the gaps of what the other wizards and witches did. He wrote 12 books, which included Break with the Banshee, Gadding with Ghouls, Gilderoy Lockhart's Guide to Household Pests, Holidays with Hags, Magical Me, Marauding with Monsters, 101 Practical Uses for Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans, Travels with Trolls, Voyages with Vampires, Wanderings with Werewolves, Who Am I?